Let me ask the first question.
Yes.
What was the first drum kit that you ever had? Now, come on.
The first drum kit I ever had, I bought off of a Salvation Army drummer for £10, and the bass drum was bigger than me. And I bought it for a tenner, got on a bus, took it back to my parents' home in Tottenham, and got kicked off the bus because I was blocking the passengers from sitting down.
What was it?
I don't know.
A Gretsch or something?
No, the first good one I got was a German kit called a Trixen.
A Trixen, yes,
Yeah,
I know.
wonderful,
I know a
wonderful.
Trixen.
It was all red glitter.
There you are. Did you know that?
You know.
Yeah.
And I tried to get hold of Freddie 2 years ago, but he was on one of his world tours, and everybody said it would be impossible. And I was determined because I've always respected what his work. And a girlfriend of mine gave me his telephone number in Munich, where he was living at the time. And I phoned him, and
But that's my girlfriend as well. But anyway.
we shared. So I flew over and saw Freddie and played him the songs and some videos and let him read the script, and
I bit the bug.
bit the bug.
Dave, what was it about Freddie that made you decide to ask him to do the tracks on the album?
Well, Time is a very special project for me, and I wanted to, and it covered all spectrums of music, and I wanted to work with people who I admired and whose voices and performance would suit the characters that I wanted to portray in the concept album.
Yeah, you obviously have a great admiration for Freddie's work.
Yes, I have. Yeah, ever since I actually saw you perform in Hyde Park, I think that was 1979. It's all right, Freddie, I'll go back to the 60s, so you can feel quite safe.
Freddie, a lot of people must ask you to record. What made you agree to this particular project?
Well, it was the way it was approached, actually, because, I mean, I get a lot of approaches to do films and things like that. And I remember when I first met David, I mean, it was like, I liked the fact that it was like on one-to-one basis. Yeah. And rather than his entourage or his organisation calling my organisation, it was those kind of things haven't done. But after having met him, he sort of said, I like the one-to-one approach. And I said, well, that's the way you got me, because, I mean, he just sort of phoned me up and said, what would you like to do? Time. And I'd read about it, and I said, well, come on over. I was in Munich at the time. Yeah. And he said, look, and the way he approached me was great. He just said, look, you don't have to be committed to anything. You can listen to the tracks, I'll fly over. And if you don't like them, fine. And that's the way. And I love that approach. I really did.
What's Dave like to work with as a producer?
Oh, he's awful. He doesn't do anything anyway. No, he's like the overseer. I mean, it's like, it's not so much, he's not so much a producer. He's, he's more than that. He's like the overseer. Yeah. He was trying to get this whole thing together with all kinds of different artists, and it's very, very difficult. I remember when he approached me, it was like, look, and, Olivier's done this, Cliffy's done that, and Dionne Warwick's done that, Cliff Richard's done that, and Julian Lennon's done that, and I just said, well, you've come a bit late. Yeah. But I think, I mean, I might be wrong in saying that, but I think in his mind, I mean, he kept, like, the title track Time, because I think he was sifting, basically, and that's the way I think, and to find the right medium for the right person. And I know when he first approached me, the track Time, the title track, was not really considered. I mean, it was a track that I did was In My Defense, and there was another track, and I said, okay, In My Defense, yes. But after I did In My Defense, I think he kind of liked it, and then suddenly I sort of said, oh, I think I can do something with the title track. I mean, it takes time, and I think he sort of gained more confidence in what I was doing, because I'm a beast in the studio anyway. So
He's not actually.
Olivier is just magic. I mean, just when you hear his voice, you just want to sort of put a song next to it,
Are you a fan of Lord Olivier?
Well, who isn't? Don't be silly.
Dave, did you ever think of asking Freddie to be in the show?
Yes, I did actually. I think I asked him when I was in Munich.
Yeah, well, I said no.
And he said he wasn't disciplined enough.
Not disciplined enough?
Yeah. Well, I can't. And
he is very disciplined in the studio, but I can understand what he means.
It's a different kind of thing. I just can't. I'm not good at doing. Well, number one, I can't do matinees because I don't get up before that. But I mean, it's just. I think my voice would not hold. It's a different kind of singing. I mean, I do what I consider a kind of rock and roll type of singing, which, well, it's basically my voice. I mean, I can scream beautifully for 3 days and then I drop dead. So I mean, I think a theatre environment would just not.
But some of your videos are so theatrical. Do you not
Yeah,
feel that you'd like the challenge?
being
of doing-
theatrical doesn't mean that you have to sort of base your life around the theatre. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you
Yeah.
can be
I think you
operatic.
don't-
You could be operatic, but you don't have to be an opera singer.
Yeah, true.
There's a different element, which I'm saying.
You must be the only rock and roller to have actually danced with the Royal Ballet at the Colosseum. How did that come about?
Oh, how did you know that? Actually, a good question. Exactly the same way as how David approached me. I mean, a principal ballet dancer from the Royal Ballet. You know, Wayne England just had he had a big gala to do, and he wanted different artists, and he just approached me and said, "Would you like to do it?" Having seen Queen videos and things, he thought I could dance beautifully. But when I actually did start dancing with the Royal Ballet, they found out. You know, no, it was great because suddenly they realised that I couldn't really dance exactly. I mean, because I can never be choreographed. That's the thing. I mean, I just can't. If they tell me a step to do, I could learn it. But the moment they say, "Okay, take or roll," I just can't do it. I mean, I'm just born that way. You know, I just do spontaneous things. So they realized that I couldn't really do the same step twice. So in terms of the ballet, every time I did anything, they realized it was all wrong. So they just lifted me up all the time. Which is great. I learned a lot from that. So if you can't do a step, they go, "Don't worry about it, we just lift you up." And once you're up there, you can't do a thing. They do all the movements and you just get passed from one to the other.
Outrageous. Dave, what was it like to work with such an extrovert character like Freddie Mercury?
Well, actually, to be perfectly honest, I thought it would be impossible because he is such a perfectionist and such an extrovert performer. But I found him the absolute professional to the extreme, which I thought I was the worst, where everything had to be perfect. But he would give 100% of himself, and he doesn't like starting work until sort of 6, 7 in the evening and working till 6. But that 12-hour period, he gave a performance. Every take was a performance, giving 101%. No, and I've worked with Stevie Wonder by the album with everybody, and I think Freddie's the only performer I've actually worked with that every take is like a performance in front of an audience of thousands.
That's very nice of you. I tell you, this is no cheap queen you're working with.
How long did you two go
No,
back together?
and I mean that, and it's very rare because most performers go in and after 2 or 3 takes they lay back or they hold back, but he gives his all until he drops, and
I thought everybody did that. But
no, they don't actually, it's a magic performance. I mean, I'm a great lover of people like Edith Piaf, which is totally away from what you call today's commercial music, and the Jennifer Holidays. And I always remember when we first met, I said to you, he said, "But how can I do this song?" This was in my defence. And I said to him, "Well, I want a cross between Edith Piaf, Jennifer Holiday, and Shirley Bassey." He said,
Well, do you know what I said to him? I said the moment he said that to me, I just said, "I have all their dresses. I can do it perfectly."
Have you two known each other a long, long time?
No, not really.
Well,
I mean,
we've met. It's a good thing you asked that. The first time we ever met, I don't know if you know, was after the Hyde Park concert,
right,
I remember.
yes, yeah.
And we had, there was a dinner at Mr. Chow's or whatever, and I didn't know you were going to be there, and we were with Elton and everything. And I remember, because at Hyde Park with Queen, we just signed to John Reid, which is, who is Elton John's, what do you call it, manager, and he just become our manager, so it was just like the first big gig. And so after that, and I remember I'd thrown a tantrum because it was like, it was very weird. People didn't realize, because I mean we built up this humongous show, but we didn't get, and I'd worked myself to fever pitch right at the end, and I knew that we had like a double encore to write, but I mean because of so-called violence or the police activity, we had to we had to shut the show pretty early, so I didn't get my moment to actually do the 2 encores that I wanted to do. Suddenly it was all over, and we had to go. So I was in a real mood, and suddenly I was sort of like taken over to Mr. Charles, and Elton was there, and suddenly David was there. I think that's the first time I met you. But I think we just sat there and had dinner and we said hello or whatever, but we didn't get, because I was in a real mood. You know, in those days I was young, and I threw tantrums, and I thought I'd let this one really ride.
Have you seen the show, and what do you think of it?
I think the show's fabulous.
You enjoyed the whole concept of it, did you?
Yes, I think today it is. I mean, I'm not just sitting here saying because he's next to me. It's the most modern thing that's happening at the moment. I mean, you know, I think, I mean, whenever a show of that caliber goes out, there's always something wrong or right, and I'm sure he would say that too. Because I mean, like when we make an album, we do it, and then when people listen to it, it's like there's always room for change. And like, I mean, as the show goes on, I'm sure he could change it, because I mean but I think the initial impact of the overall thing is just magnificent. So I mean, you just go with that, and then you can change things.
It's like another step from the conventional musical that we know. It's now taking it a step further into the next sort of century almost.
Oh, definitely. I mean, the whole thing. I mean, a musical is a musical, but the whole thing that it rides on the fact that there are these. The way I see it, okay, is the way that there are certain elements in this musical that have never been done before. See, I'm one of these commercial streaks, people that love that. So, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, you could sing a song backwards and wear all kinds of wonderful clothes, but if there's an element of surprise or something that has never been done before, that brings me to a theatre. And the fact that Laurence Olivier's face was... even to this day, I mean, I'm talking to people and you read about it in the press, they don't know how it's done or whatever, is an enigma, which I love to sort of... It's something that brings you there, the mystique and all that. That's, to me, that is theatre, that is... So I think when you put all that together, it's magnificent.
When you're doing the recording of Dave's work for the album, who has the last say? Does Dave say, "I'd like it sung like this, Freddie"? And then do you have little rows and arguments about it, or?
We always have rows.
I think that's healthy.
It is healthy, of course. Healthy. I have rows with every project that I do. And in terms of us, I mean, I undertook this project knowing fully well that he was the overseer, but of course I wanted to put my sort of stamp on it. And then in the end, we disagreed on a lot of elements. But then, like, he gave way, and I gave way to a lot of things. But in the end, it was all to make sure that it was... Right. I don't think it was done in terms of any sort of egoistic elements. I mean, it was all to do with hoping that it would work. So, I mean, like... people think that I'm a real... it starts with C, but I can't think of anything. But that I'm a cherub. But I mean, sometimes you have to give way to sort of understand certain problems, you know. But I mean, I'm very hard to deal with. Yes, I'm sorry.
No, you're not. You're very easy, actually. I think if you...
it's like if you believe in something, you have to...
You're a perfectionist, and you've got to stick out for what you believe in. I mean, if Stevie did a track, and the reason I wanted Stevie Wonder to do it because I respected and admired his work. The reason I wanted Freddie to work on the project, and I was knocked out that he did it, was because I wanted Freddie to give it his special element. And I think it's pointless getting involved with any other artist and taking away what has attracted you to want them in the project. And it's the way Freddie performs, and also he's got this wonderful things with using block harmonies and very off-the-wall sounds, and it would have been wrong to take that away. I mean, that was what Freddie gave to the two songs that made them magical, I feel.
Magical being the topical word.
Is it your sound, Freddie, that we sort of grown to love and know so well with Queen, that you have these wonderful choral bits and harmonies?
That's a Queen sound. That's a Queen sound. It's a Queen sound. That is a sort of a quartet that has been together for 14 years. It's a Queen sound. It is a complete sort of mishmash of the four of us in terms of Queen. It's not my sound or anybody else's or Brian's. It is It's like when I did my solo albums, I tried to do certain elements of that. No, you don't get that. It's when four people actually gel together and there's a chemistry, you cannot equate, you cannot equal it. And it's, what you're trying to say, that is the Queen sound. I mean, there are times where I've actually tried to do in terms of harmonies, but they're not quite the same. I need Brian's voice, or I need Roger's voice and John's to make that little delicacy that makes it a Queen sound. So I mean, no. There's no, not one in terms of Queen. I mean, not one of the individuals of Queen has a Queen sound. We all together make the Queen sound. Yeah, that's the Queen sound. Otherwise, it's completely different.
Going back to the show, do you think it's more than a coincidence that sentiments like "we've got to build this world together" should come just when rock is showing politicians where they've actually failed?
Oh, darling, what kind of shit question is that? You answer it. It's too heavy.
I think what he means is in time, in the song Time.
Yeah, but you have to do it. That's your bag, man.
Well, you sung it. No, I think it's what they're really doing with Live Aid and Band Aid and everything else. Yeah. It's that one can express one's feelings through music. And it's up to the individual. You can't change the world and you can't change a person. It's up to you to change yourself.
That's true.
But I think if you can make people feel good through music or stop and think, I think Freddie would agree with
that. No, that's true. You see,
asking
me that question, and the reason I'm sort of very flippant about it is that, I mean, I do agree with a lot of that kind of sentiment, but I mean, in terms of the way we depict our music, it's very different. So I can actually relate to that kind of sentiment, but the way I do it is very different. It's a very free-for-all and a very sort of, how should I put it? It's a very sort of, the only way I can explain that is like, in terms of what I do in terms of Queen, we don't like to write message songs, because I mean, but we can still understand them. It's like I would never, people have asked me that before, and said, I mean, like, okay, we've done things like We're the Champions or whatever. They're like, to me, they're escapism. Do you see what I mean? To me, in terms music is escapism. I've been the one that I like our songs to be escapism. It's got to be an escapism. It's like going to see a very good movie. I feel that people who buy our records or whatever go to see them. They buy our records or they see our videos or whatever. Or it's like going to see a wonderful film. They go and see them because they have problems. They go in there and say, I want to lose my problems for 10 minutes or an hour and a half, and then they go back to it. I've always maintained that. For me, I don't write my songs in terms of a message of peace or love. I can incorporate that kind of thing, but I don't want to be I'm not a Stevie Wonder or John Lennon where I actually feel, because to do that kind of thing, you have to actually feel it. You have to be a John Lennon. You sleep with it, you eat with it. You know? Anybody can write a lovely message of peace or whatever, and then say, no, I'm not that kind of thing. You have to believe in it. You have to do it all the time. You have to be, and you have to actually go out of your way. I'm not that kind of person. I just want my songs to actually sort of filter through to everybody in a form of escapism. So that, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they can buy the record, and when they've heard it, I wish that for 5 minutes or 3 minutes, they're happy. They can then discard it like a tissue. But I mean, and then they look for more. I'm not, I'm not the Mother Teresa or the Bob Geldof. But I think that's what Queen's songs, or like my songs, they have a message, but they're like little hidden messages, and then they're not the be-all and the end-all. And I think, going back to, for me to actually say, why did you... I mean, I've come to grips with the project of Time, but I'm not that involved into the complete reality. I mean, Dave is the one to answer that. I'm not involved in the complete reality. To me, it is something, as far as I'm concerned, Time is a wonderful musical that's come up, and I want everybody to see it.